Hey everyone, Lauren from A Girl and Her Wool here. So today is another Tuesday. Well, it's another every other Tuesday. So we're going to be doing a dye with me video today. We're here in my dye studio. I changed up the scenery a little bit. It seemed fitting to do my little intro for my dye with me here in my dye studio. And if you want more behind the scenes, make sure you guys are subscribed. I'm participating in Vlogmas, and while it's not all that eventful because staying home, I'm basically working at my computer all day and then doing my business early in the morning and at night. You can still see a little bit behind the scenes, and yeah, I hope to see you there. I also have a few other announcements as well. So if you haven't already heard, I have launched a shop at agirlandherwool.com. And so my Etsy shop still exists, but you are more than welcome to shop at agirlandherwool.com. And I will have an ongoing coupon code, agirlandherwool10, for all purchases that you can make. This is anytime. This is not a launching thing. I plan to keep this going on forever as a thank you for following me, for subscribing, for shopping at my shop. So that is only good at agirlandherwool.com. There is a second code, A Girl and Her Wool Club 10, just to make things a little bit more complicated. So for any of the recurring monthly payments that you need to make, use that code to get 10% off. So I hope to see you there. And while you're there, make sure you check out the Yarn Club subscriptions, because one of the ongoing clubs that you can use A Girl and Her Wool Club 10 for is the Dye With Me Club. So for you guys who are fans of these Dye With Me videos, you can get a monthly subscription where you guys will receive, for a low rate, it only is $19.50 a month, so you're definitely getting a really good deal. You can cancel anytime, jump in, jump out, whatever you want. You will receive yarn that we dye during these Dye With Me videos, and it's just a great way to support me and support these videos. So I hope you guys go check that out. The clubs are up now. So today's Dye With Me, what are we doing today? Today we are going to be doing a one-of-a-kind sock set. So I love offering sock sets in my shop where I dye up a colorway. It doesn't have to be a one-of-a-kind color. Just dye up a color and then create a contrast color to go along with it. So if you love doing heels, cuffs and toes, that is really what this is for sock sets. So I'm dyeing up a 100 gram skein today with a 20 gram mini. But because I offer skeins in any sizes, you really could use it for shawls or whatever you like to have coordinating colors on. It really doesn't have to be socks. So yeah, I'm going to show you guys, so how it's going to work. I'm going to dye up the 100 gram skein. Again, it's a one-of-a-kind color. I had no plans going into it. You'll hear that more throughout the video. And then I dye up and talk about why I picked the color I did to dye up as the contrast skein. So make sure you watch. I kind of ask things along the way, so make sure you guys are commenting below with those those answers to what I talk about, and also just comment below, let me know what you like, what you'd like to see more of, and you will be entered for a giveaway. And then stick around at the end where I formally announce this giveaway as well as announce last time's winner. So I'm going to show you guys a skein. If you don't want to see it, if you want it to be a surprise, I'm just going to show it. I'm not going to talk about it, and I'm not going to show the contrast skein. I'm just going to show you guys the 100 gram skein. So if you don't want to see it, close your eyes for 10 seconds or just fast forward one click. So here it is. And I have, the only thing I'm going to say, I said I wasn't going to talk, is that I have good lighting. So this is showing up really well. This is really what the skein looks like. So let's get to dyeing it. All right, so here we are at the dye pots. You can see I have a skein. This is a 100 gram skein of my BFL sock base already in the water. It's already heated up here. So we will get into the dyeing. As a reminder, I am going to be dyeing a one-of-a-kind colorway. Oh, and look, my spatula had some black on it. I was dyeing up some black hole earlier, or at the same time. So anyway, That is fine. Again, this is a one-of-a-kind skein, so I'm not too careful with it. But we are going to be dyeing up a one-of-a-kind skein here and then doing a matching or a coordinating contrast mini skein. I really had no plans going into this, and the only plan I had was to use this new to me dye that I ordered. And I was expecting it to be quite purple, and so you can see here it's kind of like a lighter pink, so it definitely has those darker bits at the top where it really was piled on, but you can see as it spreads into the water it was really pink, and so that was surprising. I did not go back on the website to look at what this color was. It was something I just threw in an order when I had to replace some colors, and so I didn't necessarily remember what to expect, so I was expecting more of a purple, and you'll see kind of as the skein goes on it really does become a more brighter pink, which was quite surprising. So anyway, my only plans for this skein was to try out that color as well as another color that I also had ordered new, so you'll see that kind of when we move the skein around. For more background, the yarn is piled randomly, and I have the water maybe about halfway around it, halfway up the height of the pile of yarn. So you can see a lot of it is out of the water, and then quite a bit of it is underneath a level in there as well. So my idea for this was to not worry about the colors bleeding into each other too much, but I did want to do a colorful skein, and so I didn't want to immerse the whole thing because I did want it to show the different colors that we're going to do, and I didn't want them all to blend together. So I left some under the water to allow some of it to blend and to not have it be kind of splotchy, but at the same time kept it above the water to keep it separated. So that is that first color. Alright, so some time has passed. Obviously it's steamier, it's heated up a little bit more. This color is set, so we are going to move into the next one. So the only other plan I had was to try out this second colorway that's more of a neutral, so I knew it wouldn't work, or I knew it would work just fine. And so we're going to move this skein around and then add the next dye, and then my plans really after that is to just see what it looks like and see, based on what I know from my repertoire of dyes, my stock of dyes, kind of go from there to see what I want to add to it. So you saw some of the color bled out into the water. Again, that's fine. You can see there's quite a lot of the white yarn left, so again it will kind of hold the colors separate, but I didn't mind some sort of blending and kind of creating a more uniform look. So I'm gonna bring the new dye over, and I think when it goes on it almost looks like green, but don't worry, it is not green. It does not stay on there green. We're not doing green today. This is going to be just like a neutral kind of yellowy beige kind of color. Wait for it. Here it is. So yeah, putting it on again, it looks like it's going to be this like neon bright green. I wasn't nervous about it when I was putting it on because I did remember what this one was supposed to look like, but some of the dyes are like that. They just kind of have, in powder form, it just looks very different than how it's going to look when it goes onto the yarn. So you can even see in some parts you kind of get some of that brighter yellow in there, and again it just will, as it heats up, it kind of tones itself down. It really doesn't stay kind of this color, but yeah, so that was the second color, and at this point I'm thinking about other colors that I want to add to it. Again, I'm going for a pretty variegated skein, a pretty colorful skein here, and I had it in my mind that this was going to be purple because I thought that initial color was going to be purple, but even from what you can see here from when I piled it up, it kind of was a pretty light bright pink. I just wasn't expecting that, and I'm sure if I go back and look at the picture of what the dye was supposed to look like, it's probably spot on, but I had in my head purple, and so the next color that I'm going to add is kind of that deeper purple that I was planning to add in here. So once this kind of sets, I will move it around again, add some of kind of that brighter purple, and I thought that, the pink and the purple would match pretty well, but still give it kind of some distinct look, and then also add some darker elements to this too because it's pretty light and bright at this point. Alright, so again, it's been a couple minutes. I let it set, and now I'm going to just move it around again and bring in that darker purple color. I think first, again, I do these as voiceovers if you're new. I try to keep my mask on and the fan and ventilation going, so I like to do the voiceover later. I might even come back and add some more of that original color, just to kind of add some more to it since I didn't do very much of it, but we'll see what this comes out in. I know it goes on pretty darks. Yeah, so that's more of the original color, just to kind of see if I left it alone like that, if it would stay pretty dark. And then we're gonna kind of come in with the purple. So at this point, I'm just kind of checking it. So you see it kind of stays dark, but it still wasn't like that dark purple that I was picturing. So anyway, I was honestly in that moment just kind of playing with the dye. It's my first time using this dye. You guys know I like to play around with it, see what it does with the different techniques that I use for it. And I know you can't see too much here because I do keep it zoomed in, but overall the skein is still pretty light, a lot of white still. We have that pink in there, and it's not like a hot pink when I say brighter pink. It was just much lighter than I was expecting. I was expecting a much darker purple. So again, we're going to come in here with the dark purple in a second. All right, so now I'm just applying an actual dark purple to this color. Again, the yarn is just piled randomly, and so I'm just speckling it randomly, kind of smushing it in. You saw me kind of dump a lot of it there. This purple clumps quite a bit. The dye powders clump together. And since I wasn't going for very much of a speckled look, I really was blending it in. I didn't mind that I just kind of added some of the purple in there. So that's kind of what I'm doing, just smushing it in there, letting the purple get in there. And this is more what I thought the original color was going to be like. I'm happy that it's completely different. It's nice to have a different color in there, but it's just kind of funny that this is what I was expecting, more of what the dye to look like. So I wanted to get some purple in there because in my head this was going to be a purple skein, and so that is what I've done. And again, this purple takes a lot to get absorbed. Again, it clumps up a lot, even in the water of the dye bath. It just stays clumped, so I do like to let it sit for quite a while to absorb in. All right, so again, it's been a few minutes now, and so we're gonna just move the skein around a little bit and kind of see with what we're working at. I know, again, you guys can't see too well when I take it out of the pan, but that is what I'm doing. I'm just kind of looking at the overall skein. I try to bring the white parts up if I don't want too much white, so I get dye on there. And again, I try to keep it random, so some of the purple is still on top. You kind of see some of that yellow in there, and then the original pink is in there as well. Now that I see it through this image, because I'm looking at the video, I think that is what the picture looked like, kind of almost like that strawberry pink, which is one of my favorite colors. So that, I think that is what it was meant to be and why I picked it out. So I'm excited. I'm excited to play with this color, and I'm excited for you guys to see. You might have seen how it turned out at the beginning of this video, but I'm excited to see, show it to you guys at the end here, because I think it did come out pretty nice. Very colorful, but not in your face. Very nice skein. So I ended up lowering the water level quite a bit. In this last bit, I did dump out a lot of the water, and that is because I'm planning to start speckling, and so I really wanted the speckles to stay on top. I didn't want this part to blend in. I'm going to be using some brighter colors, and I really wanted to not have it bleed all over. I will say in the end, the colors didn't stay speckled, and I should have known that. They're not colors that I typically speckle with, but I do like how they turned out, and I'll talk about it more at the end on why, kind of elaborate more on that at the end. But yes, I'm going to start speckling, so I put the water level very low. There's really very little yarn underneath the water, and so when I do speckle, the dyes will just kind of sit on top, and we won't have to worry about the skein becoming overwhelmed by what I'm going to be speckling with. All right, so the first color we're going to speckle with is definitely a brighter pink. So it's in the same family. It's kind of like a brighter, actual brighter version of that first color we did. It's like this pinkish, purplish, just really bright color. I have a cat playing with a ping pong ball, as always, while I'm recording. So again, it's a bright color. I didn't want it to bleed into the skein too much. I really just wanted it to sit on top. And I wanted to remind you too, because I'm gonna come back with a second pretty bright color and we're gonna cover the whole top of this. And just before we do that, I wanna remind you that there is a lot of yarn in that pile. So you kind of see me come in here with, that's the same, more of the same. But I'm really covering the whole top of it. And when oh no, this is the second color. So you see it's like that really bright blue. It's like a more blue than teal or turquoise. It's just like a really bright blue. And again, I'm covering the whole top of it. But remember that there is a lot of yarn underneath that skein of yarn. So if you guys know my Not in Kansas Anymore colorway, I cover the whole top of it with black, but there's still so much rainbow underneath. And I'm gonna keep talking while this clip changes here. So again, you see those speckles, and I think I'm gonna just check and make sure that they're set, which they're not, so the lid's gonna go back on, and I'm gonna keep talking about this. But there is a whole lot of yarn underneath there, which basically means that even though I speckled across the whole top of it, a lot of yarn is not speckled on. And so when we look at the final skein, you'll see those bright colors, but they really won't be an overall theme to the yarn. So keep that in mind and we'll check back in. At this point, I'm curious what you guys think. Do you guys like these kind of multicolored skeins? Do you tend to go towards those, or are you more a fan of like tonals? I think I asked this in the last one and I got some interesting responses of like, it depends on the project, which of course is true. Again, this is going to be for a sock set. So also, as you're watching this, let me know, what were you thinking we were going to be doing with the contrast skein? I probably won't have shown that to you at the beginning. So I'm curious what direction you think I went as I kind of add more and more colors. So let me know what you were thinking at this point. All right, so again, I'm just checking these speckles here. These are bright colors that I really wanted to let them set. They do bleed a little bit. They did bleed a little bit. You can see they're not like completely still speckled, but I think at this point I'm gonna give it a go and move it around and kind of keep playing with the yarn. So in general, I tend to lean towards a lot of pinks and blues, as you guys can probably guess. I also like lighter colors, lighter neutrals, and kind of those kind of things, and I think that that shows through even when I do socks. But I feel like socks a lot of times is like our opportunity to use like maybe colors we're not super comfortable with. So is that something you guys like to do? I think this is a skein of yarn that I probably would not make a sweater out of, and it would be hard to necessarily match into outfits, but I think it would make an awesome skein or pair of socks. So let me know what you think. So again, we just moved it around a little bit, and at this point I wanted to darken it up a little bit. It felt very bright to me, and at this point I'm thinking that the contrast skein is going to be a darker color just because this did come out so bright. And so I wanted to just darken this up so that way the contrast skein blends in with that. I wanted, you know, I like to do a contrast skein that looks good with the skein, but it doesn't blend in too much that you won't see it, or like, I don't know, if, you know, if I just did that first initial color, where there would probably be a lot of sections where you would get the same color kind of back to back, even though you were using a contrast skein, if that makes sense. So again, here I just have some various darker neutrals that I have. None of them are black, none of them are gray, but they're just kind of like darker toned. I think that last one I did is like a pretty deep brown, and then the first one I did was like more of a darker navy blue, and it just like really wanted little bits of darkness to it that wasn't like black or gray. So I kind of brought that in, figuring that the colors would start to show through a little bit more. So again, I didn't care in that case if it blended in, because I figured it would just blend into the skein a little bit versus kind of overwhelming with color. So I'm just adding kind of that darker blue. It's like a dark blue gray that I'm piling on top in various places. Again, not too much so that the skein becomes dark, but just enough so when we do hold up the contrast skein next to it, it won't be too like far out of left field. So again, you can see here, it's a very colorful skein, and you'll see more of it when it comes out of the pot. So at this point, again, I was thinking of doing a darker color for the contrast skein. So let me know if at this point that's what you would have done, or if like there's another color speaking to you that you wish you would have for the contrast skein. And remember, I'm going to be dyeing the contrast skein up on a 20-gram skein. So like the idea would be for contrast heel covered toes, but what if you did this as a shawl? Would that change it? Would you want, you know, if you were thinking, oh, I would bring out that brighter yellow, would you then do a darker color or something if it were a shawl or something like that? So what are you thinking about as you look at this skein? What does it remind you of? I think when I was dyeing it was starting to remind me of like a dream sequence or something like that, something kind of colorful and bright. So that is that for that skein. I'm actually going to bring in the next pan that has the contrast skein already heated up in water. So I did decide to go with a darker purple for the contrast skein. I thought that that was going to be the overall theme of the first skein, and so I just guess I had that stuck in my mind, and I thought that the purple would play in really well with where we brought in the same darker purple in the skein, but then also play off of that initial kind of strawberry pink color that we did. I thought it would match pretty well. And I like to get matchy, but not too matchy, like I said earlier, where it won't blend in. Again, this is that same clumpy purple. It's a tonal skein. The water level is pretty high, so most of the yarn is underneath. And so I didn't mind just kind of throwing the purple dye. I kind of wanted to get pretty uniform. You'll see I do pile my contrast skeins anyway because I don't like them to be completely uniform. I like to have some lighter sections and some darker sections. And so again, just getting a lot of that purple in there. And again, like I always say, I kind of like to do it slowly. There is some purple in the pan, like you can see, so it will keep absorbing it. Again, this is that same purple that takes a while to absorb. But I knew I wanted a rich, deep purple, which is why I keep kind of coming back with more. The other thing that I decided to do with this skein was to add, and I think I'm still on the purple at this point, but I decided to add some of that kind of darker bluish gray to it as well, just to make sure it blended in with kind of that section. That was one of the darker neutrals I was talking about that I added into the skein as well, which I thought would just kind of keep it from being like kind of one uniform purple and just bring in some of that darker gray as well to blend in with those neutrals. Alright, so at this point I went back and looked at the one-of-a-kind original skein we did, and I realized that it came out very colorful, as I kind of have been talking about, and I was nervous that that tone of purple that I had was not going to be dark enough and it was just going to be way too bright and colorful compared to the skein. You were probably thinking that purple wasn't too bright and colorful, but again, keep in mind, first of all, it's on camera, and second of all, it always dries brighter. So I decided to bring in kind of a pretty dark color here. Again, I'm not playing with black or gray. I'm just kind of adding like a deep, darker, almost brown black a little bit. And just to darken it up quite a bit. I really wanted it to become this deep, saturated color that I thought would stand out against kind of this brighter skein that we did. It came out very colorful, a little rainbowy almost, and so I didn't want a rainbow color paired with purple. I thought it was just like too much, and I wanted to go with a darker neutral. So it definitely did come out purple. You will see that it comes out purple, but really dark. So I'm curious again, I've been asking this throughout, so at this point, what are you kind of thinking? What would you have done, and do you like the darker color with it? Should we have done like a opposite board, completely neutral? We'll take one more look right after this to go see how it looks when it's dry and talk about the results. But again, before you see it dry, kind of what are you thinking at this point? The last thing that I'll say before we head out of here is that a lot of the yarn is above, so there is a lot of water, but you can see that there is yarn above the water, meaning that the part underneath will kind of absorb the dye, whereas the part above it will stay lighter, and that's a great way to kind of get the contrasting tones. Anyway, let's head out of the dye pots and back and see the finished skeins. All right, guys, welcome back. So I hope you liked that dye with me. It was fun to kind of just go off the whim. It's always fun to do one-of-a-kind colors. I don't have to worry about what's happening too much. And I get to just play with the colors, and I really love how this skein came out. So if you didn't look at the beginning, here it is. And as I mentioned, in case you did fast forward and didn't listen in, I have new lighting and a new camera, and the colors are showing up really well. This is really what the skein looks like. So very colorful. So you can see in here, this is kind of like, so that first color, that's the one that I thought was going to be pretty purple, that I said kind of came out like a strawberry pink, and I love that color. I expect to see colorways with that in it soon. And then again, we have, I added in that kind of brighter yellow in there. You can kind of see it throughout. Again, none of the colors are in there too much. We just piled it on top, left the rest of the skein underneath, and so none of the colors overwhelm the skein. So we did those two colors. Again, we did some of the purple, so I brought in purple because I wanted to get that purple in there, like I had it in my mind. And then we speckled. So we speckled, and again, that brighter pink, let me open it up. So you definitely see the blue, right? Like you can see the bits of the blue throughout, but that brighter pink that we did, and I'll find, I found a good spot of it that I can show you here. This is a good spot to show you too. But you can see it's taking me a while to find it. So here, you can see some of the speckles in there. So even though I speckled across the top with that brighter pink, it's not overwhelming. And when you stitch with it, you're really not gonna see it too much. So again, there are more of those speckles. So again, the blue did bleed more. I kind of expected that. And so you do see the blue quite a bit more. But again, the speckles don't overwhelm the skein either, and that's because we did it. Let me just refocus it. That is because we did it across the top, but there was a ton of yarn underneath. So even that golden yellow, like it's just yellow, right? You don't have pink bleeding into it. You don't have blue bleeding into it. The colors really stayed separate, and I love it. I really love how this skein came out. And then of course, throughout it, you just have some of those darker bits that we added to just kind of blend it all together. And I think it really created nice shadow effects without making it a dark skein. It's still a bright, colorful skein. So yeah, let me know what you think. I love this. I love this skein so much. I'm curious what you guys all think. All right, so the contrast that we ended up doing was a pretty dark purple. So again, you look at the skein and it definitely has purple elements to it. It's a brighter skein, and so I feel like I made the right decision by doing the darker purple. This is probably not going to show up at all. It looks black there, I think, but it's definitely purple. It's definitely a dark, dark purple, very dark purple. So maybe you can see it better in that lighting. You really, really see a lot of purple in there. It is not a black skein. It's just a really saturated purple. So again, it's a tonal color. So I'll try and show it as best as I can, but that's not a reflection. That's just a really light section of the purple. And then you get sections that are really pretty dark. So you can see it here, really light and pretty dark. So I try to do my tonals that way, so it's not, so I try to do my tonals that way where it's not too uniform, but at the same time, if you were to knit with it as a contrast color, it wouldn't take away from the main color. So again, those are those two together. The purple isn't showing up, I don't think, for you guys, but it just looks like a black skein. I promise it's not black. I will take photos and put one up. But the purple just really brings it all together because there is a lot of purple in this skein after all. And so if you knit with these two next to each other, at no point are you going to, I kind of talked about this and I want to elaborate on it. So let's say I made the contrast color strictly like this purple here, because you guys can see it. That's really that purple on its own. If you didn't like use too much dye of it, you would get that purple in there. So if I'm knitting around and around and I'm using this and then I'm using that, if they were the same exact tone and the same exact color, you wouldn't end up getting the contrast in here. So while I like it to match, and I really wish you could see that it's purple, it will match. This will make a great heel, cuff, and toe for this sock by being purple. You'll always get contrast. No matter where you are in this skein, you're going to get a contrast with that color. So that is creating a one-of-a-kind sock set with a contrast color. So I hope you guys found that interesting. Again, I'm getting used to the new camera here, getting used to the new lighting. I am gonna snap some pictures of this anyway. If you do want this skein, it is not going to be available in the shop. It will be available to the Dye With Me club members. So make sure you guys join that. The more people who participated in it, the more I can do, because I'm primarily a dye to order shop. And so dyeing up kind of off the cuff here now gives me stock and inventory, and it just creates inefficiencies in my shop basically. So please consider joining the Dye With Me club. You could potentially go home with this, and for $19.50 a sock set, that is a good deal. For more details on the Dye With Me club and all of the clubs I'm offering in general, go check out the vlog I posted last night called 2021 Final Details. I talk about them all there, and you can hear more details about the Dye With Me club. So, giveaway. So for the giveaway for this week, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna offer up a $20 gift card to my shop. It'll be the shop at agirlandherwool.com. You will get a $20 gift card to that. And so just answer the questions I asked throughout the video. Definitely comment below. Always open to things you want to see, what you think of that skein, what do you like about it, what don't you like about it, what would you use it for, that kind of thing. I'd love to hear it. And make sure you tune in 2 weeks from now to hear if you've won. And just a reminder, I am going to pick the winner from the last Dye With Me video, which was also a $20 gift card. If I don't hear back from the winner, again, I don't poke and prod for these, so if I don't hear back from the winner by the next Dye With Me video, I will be picking a new winner in that video, because I like to get these prizes out. So I'm going to pause here and pick a winner and be right back. If you guys are curious how I pick the winners, I go to random.org, I count how many comments there are. Actually, YouTube tells me how many comments there are, and I put it into random.org, and then I count the number of comments. So I'm not doing anything fishy here. I just don't think you'd like to watch me stare at my phone. So anyway, the winner from last week's video, so that Dye With Me was when we did the over dyeing the one-of-a-kind skeins, where I kind of had mistakes that I had made in skeins earlier, and so I over dyed them into one-of-a-kind skeins. They came out really pretty, and so I really appreciate everything you guys said. It seemed like you guys all really liked them too. So keep in mind, if you join that Dye With Me club, you could potentially go home with one of those skeins as well. So without further ado, guys, things are getting weird up here. Without further ado, the winner is going to be Carol Corcoran. So Carol, please, you can message me on Instagram at agirlandherwool. You can email me at agirlandherwool@gmail.com. I just need you to tell me you know you've won, and I will send you a coupon code. It will only be good at agirlandherwool.com. So that is it for this Dye With Me video. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and tuning in. I'm excited to keep up with these Dye With Me videos. I think I'm going to be doing a series coming up soon. I have some ideas in my head, but I think with the current idea I have, I'm going to need to get ahead of the game a little bit. And so actually, that's going to start in January. So the next Dye With Me video is going to fall, I think, like right at Christmas time. Maybe it's gonna be in between Christmas and New Year's. So I'm gonna do a festive skein. So let me know in the comments. Here's another way you can enter. Do you want like a Christmassy festive? Is it too late for that? Should it just be like a New Year's themed one, like grays and golds and that kind of thing? Like, What kind of dye with me do you want to see? I'm going to be on vacation. I have the time, so let me know. And again, during that week, I'm going to get ahead. So probably in January, we're going to be starting another series. And I will announce in the next video whether or not that's true, because with me, you never know. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please like this video if you did. Thumbs up with your dyed fingers, and subscribe please so you never miss out on another video. That is a free way to support this channel. So please give it a thumbs up, comment for your entries, and subscribe. And I will see you guys soon. Bye.